here, okay? And if you are a first timer sitting in this room, it feels like a lot. And the best thing I can tell you right now is there's a lot of people here that want to help you. There's a lot of people here that want to sit next to you and they want to help you develop a plan. And the best thing that you can do for your kids is, even though you have that fear, walk into school having that energy that you have for this activity and for theater overall, and to have some sort of plan and some sort of vision, okay? When I started doing this a few years ago, and in that year, I remember saying, I've never done play. As a director, I was in one or two, but never was I a director. And so I pooled my community. Like, I asked kids, I talked to people, what has been done in the past, what do you want in the future? And so when you sit there and you are, I'd say, have small, little knowledge, and you're walking into a school trying to start a program, you want to know kind of what their expectations are. And that doesn't mean that you are showing that you're scared, but you're sitting there saying, I want to work together to make this something that's going to be an enjoyable season for everyone involved. So like that year, I took my seniors and we sat in a room. And I said, you guys came from a successful program. I took over a program at Cross County from a very successful director. She moved on, and I wanted to know what their expectations were, and they were very high. And in that, I'd say that from there, we're just building and helping these kids get to the place where they feel the most comfortable and they feel like they have the best show possible.
My first years I taught in a little tiny school. I went to the music director, and he told me kids that had a lot of enthusiasm, and I picked up those kids and I went with it. In Ogallala, I canceled my first show because of lack of interest. And my second show, I went to the music department again, and I talked to a bunch of the kids, and they came out. And then I did a children's theater, and we had so much fun, I hooked them. And sometimes you just need to hook.
Absolutely. And I know we all want to, put this on the kids, and it is the kids' show, for sure, and they need to lead that, but you have to take ownership of the vision that it has to be and create. Like, as a director, that piece of literature that you were using, the overall technical elements, the cutting, even the story that's told, that comes from you. And then those kids, you guide them to be responsible for your overall vision. Trying to go to the next one. Okay, so some pieces to doing that overall piece for me, in my experience, is you have to develop a culture in your school. And for me, a lot of that was language. And in the two schools that I've been at, I wanted that language to be equality through all activities. So even just addressing all activities as activities, not sports versus fine arts. These kids are participating in activities. And when you are an activities director, which I like that title more than a non-activities director, you are looking at your program in that equality that it should be. So when we have a team dinner, like football has a team dinner on Friday nights, on Thursday nights before the game. Like, we also have a team dinner, and we get to use the same facilities that the football team does. And looking at that mutual respect piece was something that when I walked into the school, I had those sit downs with other coaches and my administration, and I wanted that mutual respect. So even though, again, kind of a scary conversation, it really does help build the community and the program that you want to see in your school, because something that's alive and kicking is something that's fun to participate in, and it's something that kids gravitate to because they want to be in something that's active. And so creating that for kids is great, so have those conversations. And then with that, we have the practices. For me, consistent practice schedules has always been something that has helped build morale, and then my kids know to get off work on specific nights when we have practices or mornings or however you do it. Just know or let them know when they need to be present for you, because you have expectations and you need to tell them what those expectations are.
Share that with your activities director. Share your schedules. He's got a master schedule, and you then can say, hey, the football coach is jumping on my practices, or whatever you're saying, because you have that master schedule in front of them. I share mine with my activities director all the time, and I think that's very important, to share that schedule.
And then put it on the school calendar. All of your work, all of your, I have practices on that calendar. I have competitions on that calendar. They know the whole, like when there's a football game, they also know when the one act is performing. So it is as alive on that calendar as anything else in that school.
One of the things too I'm going to address real quickly, like Becca changes the slides, your pay. I know that's really touchy for a lot of you people, but honestly, you gotta look at the time you're putting into it, and you justify it with your pay, you can justify more money for you. And that's what I did. Is I was kept president of the OAA, but I went in negotiations and I get equal pay of all the head coaches. So, and that's because I could justify it. So when you put that down on a schedule, you're justifying your paycheck.
And don't be afraid to have that conversation. It is fine. They should hear what you have to say about that. All right, then in those leadership positions, kids have to feel that they have a buy-in. And when they come in, it's not a dictatorship. Don't make it that. These kids want to be successful, and they want you to hear them. So in doing that, create leadership possibilities for those kids. I have captains of everything. And I know it's overkill, and anybody who looks at my program, they're like, wow, there's a lot of captains on there. But those captains, so a costumes captain, you've got a hair and makeup captain, I've got an ensemble captain, I've got an acting, main stage, main group acting captain, and those are all elected by their peers. I make those kids come up on the stage. They have a little spiel. Hi, my name is Sophie, and I would like to be the costumes captain because, and they have a little paragraph that they read. I put it on a Google form. At the end of practice, there's elections. And then from there, we have smaller group meetings. I don't know about you, but when you have all of these kids that want to talk to you, you don't have enough time in the day. But if they have a captain that they can go talk to, so the freshmen can go to their captain, and then in that smaller group meeting, they can come to me and address the issues that are necessary for the head coach, then it's going to save you a ton of time. So a possibility for, letting those kids come into your program and feel like they have a voice. There's captains for basketball and football too. So all different ways of doing it, but I would highly suggest providing leadership opportunities for your kids. And then from there, a lot of these things that you guys do and but it makes those kids feel worth. Like I remember at Hershey High School, I got, for all the 4 years I was in speech and theater, there was one t-shirt. It was like my sophomore year. And when you're the kid who loves speech and theater, and there was never an opportunity to be a Hershey Panther with the shirt and the things, like all the other stuff, which I was in too, like that makes you feel like you're not as good as somebody else or another activity. So providing little things that make your kid feel proud to be in your program helps that kid walk through the halls just a little bit higher. So I would throw that out to your kids. We have kind of a buddy system where like a senior has a freshman or a junior has a sophomore. So that's something else that makes that kid come in, walk into that room and feel great. When a kid comes into an auditorium like this as a freshman and they have no idea what play production is, giving that kid another kid helps them walk the halls a little higher, a little taller, and you can even have them say, first period, oh hey, what's up, Sally? And they see you. These kids just want to be seen. And they want to see that they have a talent, so give them the opportunity to be seen in your program. And then with that too, kids want to help. They want to help in so many ways, and you're going to pull back from that. Like they're going to be extra helpful, and you've got to give them small opportunities. Like when I go to NSAA, there's a practice that I miss, and in that practice, my seniors know I get to lead that practice, and they're very excited to do it. And when I help them make a plan, I walk them through it. And so we know what it's going to look like, but they get to be the leaders that day. So that's not detrimental. It's really inspiring for kids to do those things.
What I do also is I have all my seniors on my National Honor Society. I have them stand up. You know, ineligibility is a thing, even in fine arts. And I always tell the kids, I said, I want you to look at these kids here. These are your National Honor Society students. They're here to help you with your grades. You have an assignment. If you can't do math, hit one of these guys. Don't sit in the stands waiting to go on stage in my theater. Get your homework done. It's a perfect time to get it done. Get your homework done. I don't want you ineligible. So there's another thing. I highlight those really good students so other students can see who they are, so they can seek them out for help with their homework.
And I have had students sit in the auditorium, and I have said, your grades are not where they need to be. You're here at practice, but you're sitting here and you're studying for history. And I don't know if they get a lot of studying done, but it's an example for them to know that they need to, if they want to play and have fun up on stage, that is priority one for me, because that's my set of standards. And many of you know that because of teachers. All right, then you're going to go for those standards pieces that we're working towards. I have a handbook. And that handbook is emailed out to every parent, to every kid, to my administrators. They have it on file. And in that handbook, and I will share it with anybody who wants it, is all of the things that I expect a kid to do for me in this activity. And if those expectations are not met, then there's ramifications for that. So I would highly recommend that even if it is a quick one-pager if you're a first-year coach, right, to have something to hand out, or I have it on my Google Classroom, and they can always click on it and they always know that expectation. In it, a calendar as well, so they know what's coming at them. I share a calendar, I think, 500 times during a season just so kids know what's coming at them, and they need to know. Contracts are also really popular with kids, so at the end of my handbook, I have a Google form that they fill out that I have, like we all checked the box today when we signed on to the internet. I agree to these terms. Like, to be in my program, you are agreeing by signing this contract. And then I have that on file for kids. So when the kid doesn't know why they're not going to a competition, well, it's because something happened. And here's why. This one's hard, but as you get into this activity, more years that you put into it, really do hold firm to those rules and have an activities director and administration that hopefully is standing next to you to follow through on those rules. Because I think we've all had that parent or that kid ask why, and you can say, because of the contract, because of the handbook, this is why we have these extraordinary circumstances. Let your students know that their lives outside of practice will affect their placement on the team. So if they're going to be, football player first, play second, they might just be an extra in the show, and that's okay. But you want kids there in your practice that are able to participate in your practice. And then hopefully there'll be those strong, decisive leaders and models that you want for your program, and you can be that too.
I'm one of these coaches that firmly believe, and I know she is too, that I want my kids to be in every activity they want to be in. And I know a lot of you are in small schools and you sit and they're going out, well, they're in volleyball practice and they got basketball practice and they got in football practice. There's no difference between us either. Only now we have honor bands and honor choirs and mock trial, and we got them all. But we do, when they don't, I know their schedules. I get the schedules. I know when the football games are, I know. And the kids come in with their food to play practice because they know they're rushing from football practice but it's okay, but I practice at night, and so does she. We practice at night because we know we can get everybody there then. And so that's what you're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna have to sacrifice your evenings, but, my kids are so alive. They make it, so they're gonna make it. I just want you to know, but kids, this high school is a drop in the hat. It's a drop in the hat. These kids should be in as much as they want to be in. I don't want to say theater's it, because it's not just it, and so you got to give and take.
And then to talk to your other coaches, because you want those other coaches to be on your side. So as many of those coaches that we can be allies with in that is better for your program. And I love when the sports ball person walks into one of our performances and they're like, I can't believe the running back can do that. I can't believe my quarterback can do that. Like, that's awesome to have that dialogue. And it's just neat to share these really great kids that we all have in our schools that want to do all of our activities. One of the things too that York does a really good job at is equating participation and highlighting of kids. Like right here this year, for anybody who signed a letter of intent, they got a tweet that looked exactly like this. So whether you are signing to play softball at Wayne, whether you are signing to be on the speech team at UNL, this is the tweet that went out. And so for all of you, I would love to see that exposure for kids, because I think we all know that kids are social media driven and they want to see their face, at least in your school, as much as all of the other activities. So advocate for that in your school to have them be as promoted as anyone else. And that was really neat for our kid to be able to have that moment for their senior year. And we've done it a couple times over the years for kids that have gone a couple different directions, fine arts or sports. And then, from there, just equating yourself with all of those, setting your standards and promoting your programs. Like, if you follow my social media, you probably all think, wow, she's really annoying on social media. But those kids, those parents, your community love to see their kid. They love to see their kid succeed, and they love to see their kid coming home and talking about things that they love. And so if they can go to school and they can talk about classes and activities and have a great day, that's what we're trying to strive for, is that promotion and that kid to love high school. All right, this is another way, and this is a couple years ago, but our calendar, I still love this picture, because our calendar had 2 play people, had a wrestler, girls basketball, 2 speech kids, and a basketball player. That's 50% were the things that I coached on that calendar. And that to me shows a school that supports me, and a school that's wanting to see and show our community and Nebraska that they think these are great activities, all of them. So just something, push for that in your school, because our kids thought this was a great day, that they had their faces there with everybody else. Okay, the consistent schedule thing, for me, I know this is hard, and I know we're fighting against a million other activities in our school, but your kids need to know your plan. And when your kids know your plan, my plan is religiously Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 7 to 9. And I know that's volleyball, and I know that's softball. But for me, just have the practice, you will get something done every single time. And we can work small scenes, maybe in a morning, at lunchtime. We can bring those in, but no matter what, whoever can be there, 7 to 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have a home to go to. They have a place to create art, and they know I'm gonna be there for them in those moments. So even if the volleyball game gets done early, or maybe they're just on the reserve team, then they're running back over and they're gonna make some of my play practice. We also have the band kids, I know that too, like they're running back and forth. We're all in the same building, most of us. And so just to have the ability to get something done is good. And I would say with this too, like I start play in August day 1. I'm at least talking about it. I'm saying here's when auditions are, here's when you need to come, here's the schedule, this is the show, and I'm energized by what we get to do. And when I run into school day 1 and I'm so excited for play production, then the kids are so excited for play production. And so they're, we all have that new back to school energy, some of us. And then with that, you are jumping into the things, and I know this is the thing that I love the most of my whole year is I get to do this play with these kids. And the kids, even if they've never seen a show in their life, they're like, wow, I want to be a part of the party. And so when you start the party in August, then those kids are all in, ready to rock. If you try to pick it up, later on, and those have fall plays, like you're starting just theater in general early, but they need to see your face and they need to know that they have a home in your auditorium.
I'm a little different, obvious, but I do a fall show, and I know you address this. I do the fall show, and I do a full-length play, and I do that, and I get about 30 kids out of the, most of the kids come out for the one act. I have a lot more kids come out for the one. A lot of the sports kids come out for the one act because they're heavily involved in the sports. But in the fall, when they come out for the fall play, I can get through a lot of the young kids and directing, and some of them had that experience already. And I love my fall show because when the fall show gets over, when they do a full-length play, and then they get the script for the one act, they go, "That's it? What the hell? That's it?" They give me that look like, "This is all of it? Where's the rest?" "No, this is it. It's only 30 minutes." And I start working in my show maybe the middle of October, and then I'll put that out. So I usually about five weeks I put that in, but it's just a 30-minute show. That's how I look at it. So I have a little different attitude than she does.
All right, and then within your curricular day, find those moments that aren't practice-driven to really drive your program. And so, things that we do, we have a back-to-school pep rally for the whole school. And it's literally, we march on the football field, wave, but we have this sign that says one act, and it goes right with everything else that's an activity at that point in time. So they see us, that kid sees us, and honestly, that kid sees I'm a part of something. I get to be in something. And a lot of those kids, they're running to many things, right? And marching with many things. They'll march with me and they'll run back and march with another activity, but that makes them feel so excited to be on that field in an activity, in something. When whatever show we're doing, I have a movie night, and it might be a documentary on something historical. It might be the 1950s version of that play. It's something related to the show, but then we sit there and we see time period. We see acting. We see people giving us reason to put on this production, which that's a big thing too, is you want to have a reason. Those kids have to feel that that show has a message, and you're delivering it over and over and over again because you want that message to be conveyed to change people in some way. Teen dinners, our parents rock. And I think you all will have parents out there, if you reach out to them, they're willing to do those things for you. Find them, put it out on social media, put it out in an email to parents. I collect every parent's email at the beginning of the year, as well as the kids. Use that. We have a Fine Arts Boosters, and they do a lot of fun things for our kids. So if they hype up your program, they're going to get kids excited to be in your program. And then we do for the one act, we do the school performance, and that to me is the best promotional time for your program. When all classes come, and we have a middle school come to your auditorium, and they get to sit there and they get to see your show. Wow, that 7th grader is saying, I want to do that someday. And they get to, and they see that it's an opportunity, which is neat.
Make sure when they do a pep rally that you're included in that pep rally. Sometimes the coaches just look at the sports and they forget about the theater part. You can also have a pep rally. Your parents will put a pep rally together for you at night, before practice or after practice sometimes. That's what we also do, add to that list.
And we spoke to this before, but just like Kate said earlier, like that energy that you have when you walk in, you do that, you celebrate their successes. You talk about what needs to happen to improve. Just like a judge's critique, bring that back to your stage and let those kids see, I care as much, if not more than you do right now. Let's get better. And challenge them to get better because you are the one driving the growth of that production. And they want to see the best show possible every time. And don't be afraid to point out what didn't go wrong, like what didn't go right. Because those kids want to see that the show is something the judges want to see them become their best at. And they want to be their best in those moments. And even the extras, when you point out to a kid who has no lines that they have to get better, and the whole team is like, oh, yeah. Like, and that little kid's like, oh, yeah. You have to show them that they're seen as well. Pictures, recordings, all of that helps that as well. All right, so if I were to break this up into what makes a play production season successful, there's 3 things. The first thing is your script selection. So when you come in and you have that energy and you have that vision, you have said, this is the literature we're going to do. I believe in this piece. And I have cut it to become the story that's going to be successful. This was said earlier, but you've got to have a show that grabs them in the first 2 minutes. Big ensemble is what I do as well, okay? And then the show can do some things in the middle. It has to have an impactful climax. So something in that, towards the end of it, that's gonna pull us all in with this message, and then a wow pow ending. Okay? You get 30 minutes to do this thing. And if your script selection doesn't do those 3 parts, look at something else. Because you want it to be a story. I'm a movie person, I'm a show person, I love the visual. You are sucked into some of those great movies, but you turn it off. If it doesn't, have your attention. What would you watch and be hooked to for 30 minutes? Think about that. And that starts with you this summer with your script selection. And a lot of times too, I look for scripts that maybe were movies. I look for books that were turned into scripts. I really do a lot of history pieces too. And so there's a lot of historical elements that have happened that were turned into productions. If it interests you, then you already have a passion for it, you want to cut it, and then the kids buy in. And that's the big part. Get them to see your buy-in. Then, from there, plan. Yeah, you want to go? Yes, go.
Make sure, when I also plan my scripts and stuff, in my back of my mind, I have characters, my acting, she's telling us we have time. We gotta move it. I think about who I have in my school already. I gotta think about that. Now, am I gonna cast necessarily Helen? Maybe not. Maybe somebody's gonna step in and have them dirty trials. I'm gonna change it. But I have to have somebody in every part when I pick a script in my brain that I can put there. Or it could be a failure.
So when you pick that script too, you gotta think about kids. If you don't have Hercules, don't do Hercules. So think, what is this group of people that you're blessed to work with, and pick something that highlights their talents. Jeffrey, I know you've done this too. You have kids that play the guitar. And so you put the kid who knows how to play the guitar in the show and highlight that musical talent. And that's something we all know these kids are in the school doing lots of different things. Highlight that and bring them out in your show in a moment.
And the number of kids. I know and she knows we're gonna have big casts. My show this fall has got to have a big cast. So I've gotta think about what I have coming in. So that's another thing, I think of the number of children you have.
And then too, with all that number of children, how many are extras? And how many are you wanting to push to the front to lead the team? How many, really the seniors that you have, the kids that need their moment, and think about that too. Because like right now I'm struggling, I have this senior girl, and I'm like, I know she needs something. She hasn't had something yet, but she needs that moment. She can sing really well. I need to put something in there that just makes her have her 1 minute of fame. And that sometimes requires you as a director to add in. It's not gonna magically be there in the script for you. But how you highlight her, because she's given you 4 years and she's beautiful and the kindest, nicest kid you'd ever see. How do you give her that moment? So, little things when you know the kids and you know how to work with them. Know your kids. All right, planning with a purpose. Like when we've said this over and over again. But this is where kids stay. Because they know none of their time is wasted. They also know we're going to achieve goals and we're going to grow. So when you plan a practice, it's going to start a certain way. It's going to move in a general direction, and it's going to end well. Not always, but you're gonna have at least a plan to start there and move it. I always post that plan on my Google Classroom before practice. And so they know what they're gonna see that night roughly. It's not detailed, I'm not joking. It's like start practice with introductions and how are people doing. Then we're gonna work the scene 1. Then we're going to, look at our tech a little bit. Then we're gonna, and we're gonna end with potentially some ensemble pieces. And you might even have a kid say, like, hey, do I have to be there at practice because we're not there, working my scene? And I usually say yes. Like, I want everybody there as much as they can. If you're not helping me on stage, you can help somewhere else. But that's my philosophy. Okay. Consistent and dependable. That's what you should be for kids. You should be the one with the plan. And then learning leadership. I will be the first to say I don't think I walked in being the best leader. When you're new to this activity, you're learning. And like what Kate said earlier, how she came back and got better, I watched. There was so many competitions, so many states that I did not make it to. And all I did was sit there and I watched. And I got better because I saw the cool things that so many of you did before me. And I said, I wanted to do that, or I wanted to be like that director. And then I stole and I picked and I said, ooh, and those things for me visually stay in my brain forever. And I will remember that moment and I'll say, I want to do a show that has that moment when the little match girl dies and then her body magically disappears and then she's an angel up above. Yeah, I want to do that someday, Kate. So we all have those things that make us leaders. And consistency, dependability, that is fed into my leadership. Giving kids leadership, that has also strengthened my program. And then making that end of the day that takes a team to create the production piece. For me, want every kid to feel valuable, feel heard, feel necessary. So even if you're a freshman makeup kid who's supposed to do one person's makeup for that show, I will critique it and I will say, it could be better. And they see, oh, she expects a lot from me. All the way to the senior boy who is driving the acting. Every kid can get better and every kid knows that show needs them. And that's your job to make that as necessary as possible. All right, a lot of things. Questions? Because I know lunch is coming. Okay, go. that I clearly read and signed this note with full knowledge that I know these rules and regulations. And then I haven't done this, since I've gone electronic, I haven't done this, but I used to make the parents also sign it as well. And so that piece too, it's nice. I don't know if it was truly their signature, but it was there. Yep.
One of the things I heard feedback from university students.
Yep.
When they talk about play session in high school, not one, not two, but several, many students said, because they eat late at night, they couldn't find a ride.
Yes. So couldn't find a ride. This is college students talking about their high school experience. And what I say to that is, you have kids that are willing to pick kids up. It happens, like a lot of my seniors drive around and pick kids up. We just need to have that conversation at the beginning of the season. If you're one of those kids, we'll find a way to do that. You're also gonna find kids that don't get picked up afterwards. That happens a lot. And I have driven many kids home. And that, there is. Absolutely. But when that little girl, like, I'm not joking, it happened in May. Little girl had no ride. I drove her to the trailer park in York, and I'm still sad because of what she walked into. And like, we have all of those kids. And those kids, like, yeah, it's just what you do as a director. And I think we all have that sad story to match all of the great stories that go with it. Yes? Oh, yeah. Go.
With making students in fine arts equitable to students in sports, one of the things I did, and I know a lot of schools do, is have lettering criteria. Get a school letter and bars for how many years you were doing it. That's huge.
You will get a letter at York for every activity, band, choir, one-act speech. We have criteria for all of that. Ogallala does as well. Yeah, talk to your administration if that's not happening, because they have pins and bars for all of those things. Other questions?
Don't be afraid to reach out to either one of us and ask questions during dinner or something. We're happy to answer questions.
Yeah, what we want more than anything, and all of us presenting here will say the same thing, we want play production to be a big activity in this state. And I think it is. And I think it's growing every year, but it all starts with you and your school, and how that always looks different, but we all want it to be as strong as possible. And what we say to you might not necessarily work, but we can find a way to make it work for you. And emails, phone calls, we've gone to many practices at other schools. Like, if you need us, a lot of us, we're here to help you get to the place where you need to. Yep, right here.
Contact information, how do we get a hold of you?
Great, we'll have that at the end of the presentation, and this should be shared out to everyone, and you'll have all of our stuff. Yes, no problem. Other questions? Feel good? Okay, I think lunch is going to be here in 10 minutes, so you can go to the bathroom, do your things, and then we will return after lunch. Thank you very much.